Hi, this is Lisa Halligan from lisahalligan.com. Today's presentation is why it's dangerous to label obesity a disease. Obesity is a major issue in the United States. According to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, a third of U.S. adults are considered to be obese. 2/3 of U.S. adults are considered to be overweight or obese. 1 out of 20 U.S. adults is considered to be extremely obese. And a third of children or teenagers aged 6 to 19 are considered to be overweight or obese. This led the American Medical Association to label obesity as a disease. Why would the AMA label obesity as a disease? It makes sense in some ways that the AMA would label obesity as a disease. By labeling it that way, insurance companies are more likely to cover the costs of treatment and counseling. Doctors are more likely to talk to patients about the condition, and it helps to destigmatize the disorder. Historically, individuals who are overweight or obese have been treated as if they have a moral or ethical disorder. They are considered weak or gluttonous. These are laudable goals, but they don't make obesity a disease, and there are some big downsides to relabeling this condition as a disease. Why obesity isn't a disease? First of all, what is a disease? According to the Miller-Keane Encyclopedia and Dictionary of Medicine, Nursing, and Allied Health, disease is a definite pathological process having a characteristic set of signs and symptoms. It may affect the whole body or any of its parts, and its etiology, pathology, and prognosis may be known or unknown. That simply doesn't apply to obesity. Obesity can be a symptom of disease, such as hypothyroidism. Obesity can be a side effect of medication, such as prednisone. Obesity can be a risk factor for disease, such as diabetes or heart disease, but it isn't all on its own a disease. In addition, we don't even have a very good definition of what it means to be overweight or obese. Generally, this is based on someone's BMI, body mass index. Your BMI is a mathematical equation, your weight in kilograms, divided by the square of your height in meters. Per the CDC, the standard weight status categories associated with BMI ranges for adults are as follows. If you have a BMI below 18.5, you're considered underweight. If your BMI is between 18.5 and 24.9, that is considered a normal or healthy weight. If your BMI is between 25.0 and 29.9, you're considered overweight. And a BMI of 30 or above is considered obese. The BMI is a handy little tool for lazy doctors. They punch in 2 numbers and bam, they know what category you fall into. What they don't know is your body's composition, and that is the factor that makes the difference in terms of your actual health risks. BMI can't account for extra muscle. Pretty much every football player and bodybuilder on the planet qualifies as overweight or obese. They don't have much body fat. They're cardiovascularly fit. They eat right and exercise, but according to the BMI chart, they have this new disease of obesity. BMI can't account for a lack of activity. Elderly people who are in poor physical condition, people with serious health conditions that impair their ability to exercise, they often have weights that put their BMI in the normal or healthy category, but they're anything but healthy. They may have significant amounts of body fat, but a low lean body mass, so they have the same health risks as people in the obese category who are there due to excess body fat. BMI can't account for fat distribution. Are you an apple or a pear? It makes a big difference. If you have weight that accumulates around your waist and internal organs, you have increased risks of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. But if your weight lands on your hips and thighs, it simply doesn't carry those risks. This is good news for all of my female friends who have what my mother calls thunder thighs. BMI can't account for your age. For reasons that aren't entirely clear, older adults who fall into the overweight category often have better health outcomes than those in either the obese or healthy categories. One theory is that the extra weight helps older adults have the needed reserves to fight off illnesses. BMI can't account for your ethnicity. According to Richard L. Atkinson, MD, Asian Americans develop health risks at a lower BMI than Caucasians. Indian Americans even more so. If you are of Indian, and that would be from India, not Native American descent, your risk of diabetes starts going up with a BMI of 21 or 22. But African Americans develop health risks at higher BMIs than Caucasians. An African American can be as healthy with a BMI of 28 as a Caucasian with a BMI of 25. The fact that we tend to use very lazy, inaccurate tools to diagnose this new disease is bad enough. But the mindset that the medical community has about disease makes this reclassification much more dangerous. The medical mindset is that disease must be eradicated at all costs. If obesity is a disease, the medical mindset is to attack it with drugs and surgery. And drugs and surgeries used to combat obesity are possibly even more dangerous than the weight itself. Perhaps the most famous scandal in weight loss drugs is fen-phen. Highly popular in the early 1990s, people who took fen-phen for as little as 1 month showed signs of permanent damage to their heart and blood vessels. Many people died. My first mother-in-law was one of them. We had begged her not to take the drug. Sadly, many of the people who took this very powerful, very dangerous drug only needed to lose 5 to 10 pounds. And it is alleged that the pharmaceutical companies and the FDA knew that these risks existed, but left the drug on the market until a massive tort lawsuit. Another weight loss drug, Aminorex, caused pulmonary hypertension and severe lung damage. Hydroxycut, an over-the-counter medication, has been linked to liver failure. Have we learned from the deaths and disabilities caused by these drugs? Probably not. The same month that the AMA declared obesity a disease, the FDA approved the drug Belviq, a drug that was not approved in Europe. This drug has serious effects on the cardiovascular system, as evidenced by side effects like slow heart rates, heart valve problems, and painful erections. If the medical community isn't drugging a disorder, we're hacking away at it. Surgical fixes for obesity abound, from stomach stapling to using lasers to create lesions in the brain in an effort to disrupt hunger signals. But these procedures have pretty big risks too. Infections, pulmonary embolisms, internal bleeding, increased risk of gallstones, persistent vomiting, gastric reflux disease, food intolerances, and death. Labeling obesity as a disease ignores societal issues. If we're busy eradicating the disease of obesity, we aren't taking the steps that have real effects on health and longevity. Ensuring that we get rid of food deserts, where fruits and vegetables are hard to get, teaching children to eat a wide variety of healthful foods and get adequate exercise, and embracing the idea that small, everyday changes have the power to create big benefits. There is so much more that we can do without risking our health and lives with dangerous drugs and surgical fads.